A major winter storm is unfolding across portions of the mid-Atlantic with a 1-2 punch of snow, sleet, and freezing rain. Plus, a pattern change to a colder and stormy second half of February is on the way. I'll have all the details as a new episode of Cold Rain's Weather World starts right now. Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason Pritchard, your host of Cold Rain's Weather World, where we talk about all things weather, including the current details and the upcoming forecast. We've got a jam-packed show lined up today, but before we get into the details, I want to remind you to please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, that'll help us out a great deal, turn notifications on so that you get notified when we put out new videos, and leave a comment in the comment section. A prayer request is preferred if there's something that we can pray over for you or walk alongside of you through a difficult time. I want to build that kind of community here and honor God in all that we do on this channel. If that's not your thing, just leave a comment about the weather, ask a question. If there's a suggestion for the show, please let us know that too, and I can build that in as we go over time. So any comments are welcome. Now, before we start the show today, we're going to start with a trivia question. What is the most rare kind of lightning that occurs within a thunderstorm that extends above the thunderstorm into the mesosphere? Is it A, ball lightning, B, sprites, C, St. Elmo's fire, or D, heat lightning? Stick around, we'll have the answer at the end of the show. So as I said before, we've got a lot on the docket today. We've got a winter storm that's unfolding across the mid-Atlantic. We're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about the winter storm that's upcoming in the Heartland and basically in the center of the country here. And then we're going to talk about the cold weather and all of the cold weather warnings that are in effect. Long duration cold event, Arctic outbreak up here along the northern tier of the country. We're going to talk about the flooding rains that are going to happen down here in the deep south, parts of the southeast and Tennessee Valley. That's going to be, there's going to be a lot of heavy rain here over the course of the next 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the upcoming severe weather threat over the next 24 to 48 hours down here in Mississippi and Alabama. And then we're going to wrap up with the long-range weather outlook. Now, there are some signs that the end, and as I articulated yesterday, at the second half of February and into early March is going to be colder and stormier than normal, particularly in the eastern half of the country. Where will the snow fall? We're going to take a look at that here in a few minutes. And we're going to unveil a new segment today called City Spotlight. We're going to take a look at a specific American town, and we're going to talk a little bit about what makes that town unique, and we'll answer today's trivia question at the end. So stick around. So first things first, we've got a major winter storm unfolding across portions of the mid-Atlantic and into the Blue Ridge Mountains, West Virginia over to Virginia into Maryland, just starting to work into Delaware. We've got moderate to occasionally heavy snow falling. You can actually see the main snow band that's kind of set up like this, and it's moving, the elements within the band are sort of moving to the east. We'll put the radar on in motion here in a minute, but the entire area is kind of working slowly off to the northeast. And as you can see, most of the temperatures in the region are above freezing, particularly along the southern half here where the snow has stopped. Down into North Carolina, we see a little bit of, if we put the radar into motion, we can kind of see this fill in. We see some areas of rain mixed with maybe some sleet pellets. Nothing too worrisome here, although the temperatures are above freezing until you get back to the mountains. And so you can see 20s there. But we're going to see this snow continue to fall throughout the day, particularly in the northern half of Virginia. You can see kind of a dry slot working in, so that may shut it down a little bit later. Eventually, all of this is going to turn over into sleet, freezing rain back into the mountains, where we could see a significant ice storm, potentially as much as half an inch of accrual in spots before everything eventually changes over to rain. So quite a bit of snow yet to fall. The NAM, paints 10 inches to 9 inches, 6 inches, all the way across in a little area like this. I think this is a pretty good footprint of snow. I think this is where the main band of snow is going to fall in here where the NAM is showing. I don't think we're going to see a lot of 9, 10, 8, 9, 10 inch totals. maybe a spot or two, but certainly 4 to 6 inches is not out of the question in this area. I think down here we're going to deal with a lot more light precipitation and temperatures kind of warming up. So I don't think we're going to see a major snowstorm here, but certainly an impactful winter storm. And then as we go on through, let's get rid of that. We're going through here and take a look at the GFS. So the GFS gives you a good idea of what's going to happen throughout the course of the next day or two. See that snowfall, it eventually turns over into ice back into the mountains. Things shut down for a little bit. North Carolina, you've got plenty of rain coming in, a little bit more ice back in the mountains. So that's where that ice storm, everything changes to rain eventually. And then we're done with this particular winter situation. But according to quite a few of the models, this whole entire area here under the gun again later on in the period for additional winter weather. So winter is far from over in the eastern half of the country. Now back to our main map. The next area that we want to cover is this area in the heartland here. So we're seeing winter storm watches, warnings, advisories all up across this entire area. Winter weather advisories are in the purple. The pink are winter storm warnings, and then these are winter storm watches up here, as you work on into Michigan. And so taking a look at what's going on here. So we'll look at the NAM 12K. It runs out 84 hours. Anything toward the end of the NAM gets sketchy, but we're not too far from it being in its wheelhouse. So I think this will do a good job of kind of showing us how the storm will unfold. So as we work on into Tuesday night, tonight, overnight, into Wednesday, you start to see snow breaking out in Nebraska and Kansas and Iowa. As we advance this along, you're really starting to see those snow totals start to pile up. And anywhere in this entire area can see as much as 4 to 8 inches of snow. Not going to be a massive event here, but a quick hitting, 24-hour event, and we're going to end up, and particularly in this area, I always like to, when I see these maps, I don't tend to focus so much on the numbers because the models don't always really do a good job of giving you exact or being very accurate with the snow amounts. Just look at the kind of the outline of the heaviest axis of snowfall. And then you want to compare that from model suite to model suite to see if there are any, major, fluctuations. The NAM does a good job with picking up warm noses, like I said yesterday. And so, as we get closer to its wheelhouse, which is really in the 12 to 24 to maybe 36-hour range, that's where you can start to trust it a little bit more with its location of the snow axis. And I think in this area here is where we're going to see the main axis of snow, up into Des Moines, over into Madison, Wisconsin, Chicago, anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of snow. So I think that's a good little winter storm here for this area. I think some of these people here haven't had snow and all that much this winter like me, and are looking forward to a little bit of the white stuff falling from the sky. So very good little snow there. Next up on the docket, we've got cold weather. Man, this is just bone-chilling cold up here. Winter, we've got all of these cold weather advisories. We've got extreme cold warnings in effect. That means bitterly cold temperatures. Wind chills -50, air temperatures in the -20s. And actually, if we look here, we can actually we can see that here on the map. So right now we're looking at -3 in Minot, Williston, -5, Grand Forks -1. If we zoom in, we can do that. There's not a lot of towns up here, so no reason to really zoom in. Billings at 0. This is just very cold, and it's not going to get any better. If we take a look over here, let's do this. Scroll this forward. You can see this cold air up in Canada ready to come in. This is a European, so we're going to roll this, and we get up to, let's go to the starting point here. This is the 6Z run, so this is where we are today. When the model actually started, it was nighttime, and it was very cold. So this was early morning, 1 a.m. And so now if we roll this forward, we see nothing but pinks and purples for days, right? So we're going to see some of these areas don't even get above 0. You're not going to get above 0 for several days until Thursday. And so that's just bitterly cold. That's just going to compile over time, and so as you go outside, bundle up. Look at that. It gets a little bit warmer for a day or two, and then here come the pinks back, purples back, teens, and all of that. So just no end in sight to the brutally cold air across the Great Plains. So you folks up there are under the gun, and all of that cold air eventually works into the eastern and southern part of the country as well. So keep us below normal. So the next area of concern is now Tennessee Valley back into Texas, over to the Carolinas, up into Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, where multiple inches of rain is going to fall over the course of the next week. The Weather Prediction Center issues a map every day of the total precipitation over various time periods. I'm showing the 1 through 7, so the upcoming week. And you can see widespread, look here at the scale, 5 inches. So widespread 5+ inches over a large portion here of the area. So flood watches are already up. If we go back to our hazards map, we can see flood watches in Tennessee and Georgia, back into Louisiana. All of this is already in place. And if we take a look at the models, what are they saying? Are they in agreement with the WPC? They probably are. That's where the WPC uses to make their decision. If you look here at the European model, this is over the course of 336 hours, widespread 4, 5, 6 inches. The GFS ensemble, same deal. I mean, this is the same footprint that we saw with the Euro, and then the Canadian ensemble as well. So really, really good agreement with the WPC in terms of the precipitation footprint. So lots and lots of areas are going to pick up multiple inches of rain, but tons of rain's going to fall across Tennessee, the upper South, into Kentucky, where as much as 6, 7, 8 inches of rain could fall. And if we extend, if we look beyond, beyond this time frame, it's an active pattern. More rain's coming. Some of that could be in the form of some snow here in the upper South, anyway. But be on the alert for flood warnings and flood watches that are going to be issued over the coming days. This is going to be a multiple round situation. It's not going to be like Helene, where everything just kind of comes together over 12 hours and you get these massive amounts of rainfall. But there is going to be river flooding. There is going to be flash flooding. And so pay attention to those watches and warnings. So we're going to have days of rain. We're not going to see the sunshine very much in the southeast at all. I hope you enjoyed it yesterday, because probably not going to see it much until Valentine's Day. And that's only a brief respite before more clouds and precipitation moves back in. Now, next up is the severe weather threat. The SPC has got a slight risk in place. This has been expanded since earlier today to include Louisiana, Alabama, southern Mississippi, into Georgia. And so what we're looking at here is not a great deal of instability. There will be some, but mostly it's a high shear environment. So if we take a look here at the 850 winds, there's a low-level jet that's going to work in here. And you can see 37 hours out, that's going to be on the 13th. So we're really looking at overnight, Wednesday night into Thursday, early Thursday morning. And so if we crank this on forward, we can see that 850 jet really come together. So you've got a good low-level jet that's going to provide speed shear. And this is, according to the NAM here, we're in the sort of 60 to 70 knot range in some spots. And so that you can see that all kind of works through. And then the depiction of thunderstorm activity. So this begins overnight, early AM Thursday, I guess, and then on through the day on Thursday. So you can see this line of storms kind of come together. Not a great big tornado threat, but certainly the wind threat is there with low-level directional and speed shear. If we were to realize a lot of instability, there's going to be dew points in the 60s. So it's pretty good. Probably not a lot of sunshine, though. So if we were to get instability, we'd have a much more active tornado pattern. But right now, it looks like that's going to be limited, but certainly be on the lookout for wind damage in spots across Mississippi, Alabama, and into parts of southern Georgia. Okay, so if we take a look at the entire continental United States over the course of the next 2 weeks, what are we looking at? We are seeing storm after storm after storm. Some of this is going to be rain toward the southeast with thunderstorms, heavy rain. You can see that line of heavy rain that gives cause for the WPC to issue an outlook with multiple inches of rain here. So watch that area, and you can see the winter storm unfolding across the Heartland. And we'll put this into motion. So there's storm number 1. That's going to go through, bring some snow up to the northern part of the country, northeast part of the country. Again, back end, so we're looking at 99 hours out. Another system comes into play through the Great Lakes into the northeast. Heavy rain across the Tennessee Valley. That line of thunderstorms probably is going to come in sometime through the weekend. So again, an active weekend. We'll keep it rolling through here. Another storm system takes shape. Low pressure coming out of the Gulf of whatever this is now, bringing some mixed precipitation potentially into the mountains of North Carolina and into the CAD regions here. Big snow. The Europeans got a big snowstorm here for Tennessee. So folks in Memphis over to Kingsport, going to love that. That low winds on up, obliterates the northeast with heavy snow, high winds, 979 millibar at low. So we're could be approaching blizzard conditions. I don't think we'll quite get there, but again, another little system comes in, high pressure then begins to dominate. But once we get out here into La La Land, it's hard to know exactly what's going to happen. There's a lot of spread in the ensemble members, but the European does a good job of kind of illustrating the activity in the pattern. Anybody from essentially this line, I keep dragging the page, anybody from essentially this line here up north is really needs to be on the lookout for snow and winter weather as we go through the course of the next 2 weeks. Now, that brings us to the Rainmaker. So this is our money map of the day. This is courtesy of the 384-hour GFS. If you see this posted on social media, this is one of those things that's probably going to get a lot of comments and likes. I mean, I would like this too if I saw 40 inches, 50 inches for my area, but look at the GFS here. It is a silly clown map. The funny thing is you've seen lots of these kinds of maps generated over the last week or two for the Northeast in particular. So Maine, Boston, Vermont, New Hampshire, Albany, back into Pennsylvania, tons of snow if you believe the 6Z GFS. I haven't seen the 12Z yet, so we'll see what it shows. But European had something that looked like this a couple of days ago. Fun to look at. Doubt we're going to see that much snow. But hey, you never know. That's why you play the game. Okay, so we're going to take that off, and now we talked earlier about the pattern, so I'm going to move this over here, and we talked earlier about the pattern shaping up toward the second half of the month be cold and stormy. Why is that the case? Well, we're already in kind of an active pattern, and it looks like the MJO, which we talked about yesterday, just an area of tropical convection that moves west to east, and depending on its location, it can alter the jet stream or influence the jet stream. And so typically when you see the MJO cycling through here, let's put this on here. Let's take a look. When you see it cycling through phase 8, 1, 2, 3, these are the cold phases in January, February, and March. Now, there are some variations of this when you have La Nina like we do now, but it's not really a strong La Nina, I wouldn't say, and so I'm not seeing a great deal of influence on the pattern, and so therefore no need to really be too nuanced here. This is the cold side. This is the warm side. We have tended to spend a lot of time in the warm side over the past couple of years. This year we're spending more time in the cold side, and as you can see here, I think this is the European model. So this is the European, and it shows the pulse flowing into phase 1 here toward the 25th. And if it were to go on out further, it would go into this way and this way and this way. And so that's good, and it's reflected in the H5 pattern, I mean to say. And by the way, so here's what I was talking about earlier. So phase 1, cold, phase 2, cold, phase 3, cold, kind of the whole entire United States. Phase 8, chilly as well. And so we're working through phase 8 now. We're getting into phase 1, 2, and 3. And so taking a look over here at the European ensemble mean, we're going to start it here at 132. Now, we're going to roll this forward. We see a trough in the east, a big block over the pole. Folks, this is a massive block here. This acts to really displace the jet stream farther south. Depending on where this sets up, you can have big snowstorms along the East Coast. Now we're seeing a lot of that activity here reflected in the snow means in the Northeast. But hopefully as we go forward in time, that will transition a little bit south so folks that haven't seen snow can start to see some. So if we roll this forward, that block sits in place. The trough kind of hangs out on the East Coast. It regenerates back in the central part of the country, moves back in. The block kind of fades over time. That's sort of smoothing out by the members of the ensemble suite as you go out in time. But you see kind of an active lower height pattern. This is the jet stream. Got a little bit of a hint of a subtropical jet too. We'll take a look at the winds in a minute, but that shapes up really nicely. This is a good pattern for East Coast snowstorms. If you see this, this is a good indication of East Coast snowstorm pattern. If the temperatures are cold enough, and they should be. So that pattern kind of persists and even gets a little stronger. So you've got quite a large signal here for a trough in the east, ridge out west, air funneled in over the pole. You know, jet working in this way. We don't want to see this crashing into the west coast because that floods the continental U.S. with mild air, and we're not seeing that, so that's good. Now, what about the GFS? What does it show? The GFS ensembles. Does it concur? Well, yes, it's got a big block. It's got that ridge here at 132. If we roll this forward, same kind of situation. We've got a big trough that sets up in the eastern half of the country. That block kind of fades out over time, but you still see a significant anomaly here. So that's good. Displaces the jet stream south. We have that sort of signal where we've got a good East Coast winter storm pattern. Particulars always are, the devil's always in the details, as they say. So we'll keep our eye on that. But it's very, very similar to the European ensemble. So there's good agreement of a general ridge out west, trough in the east pattern. And if we take a look at the European ensemble mean 850 millibar anomalies, these are above temperatures, a magnitude above or below normal. Purples are good if you like cold, so a lot of big purple and green colors coming in. That sort of relents a little bit over time, but we get another surge of it here. And then the European really wants to kind of moderate the pattern. I think that's again, going to be a little bit too hasty. It's been trying to do this a lot. So as long as the MJO's in phase 1, 2, 3, I think we're in good shape to continue to see cold in the east. And then finally, the jet. So this is the 300 millibar jet stream, and big jet on the east coast. So we've got a lot of action here. And as you roll this out, look, you can see the subtropical jet coming to life. So you're going to see energy injected from the northern stream, energy injected from the southern stream. And this is a really good pattern, like I mentioned yesterday. I think with the cold air around, with all of the energy in the jet stream, the odds are certainly higher than normal that somewhere in this area here, I always get my pen wrong, but somewhere in this area, I think has the potential to see a really sizable, significant winter storm as we go through the period. So that is it with the weather details and the pattern. That just pay attention over the course of the next week or so and see what shows up on the horizon. But I think we've got a good opportunity, maybe see a big storm. Now, that brings us to our city spotlight segment. Our city of the day is Raleigh, North Carolina, my former town. And I'll tell you a little bit about Raleigh. It was founded in 1792. So let's bring a picture of Raleigh up here. This is Raleigh. This is at Christmas time. They do this with the BB&T building. It used to be the BB&T building. Now it's the Truist building. But very nice downtown area. It was founded in 1792. It was named after Sir Walter Raleigh, who sponsored the Roanoke voyages in the 1500s. It is the capital of North Carolina, of course, and it's known for its universities, including NC State University. Go Pack! And it also sits in proximity to Chapel Hill and Durham. And the three areas make up the Research Triangle Park, where you've got research centers, technology firms, government agencies, and so on. Lots of people are moving into the area. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the country. And it has currently, Raleigh proper, I think, is about 482,000 people living there. So I loved Raleigh when I lived there. Got a little too crowded for me. Glad to move to Morganton and get into a quieter place. But that is Raleigh, North Carolina. And if we look at the specific forecast for Raleigh, as I said, I hope you enjoyed the sun, because you're not going to see it again until Friday. Temperatures in the 30s and 40s, popping up into the 60s before it cools back again. Rain, 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 rain. That is your 5-day forecast for Raleigh. Just rain until we get into the early part of the weekend, and then more rain. So that brings us to the end of our show. We had a lot going on today, so we went a little bit over. But before we go, I want to answer today's trivia question. What type of lightning is the most rare that occurs in thunderstorms and extends into the mesosphere? The answer is sprites. Sprites are lightning bolts that shoot out of the top of an anvil of a thunderstorm and extend up into the mesosphere, and you can actually see those from space, and they photograph those from the space shuttle and orbiting satellites. So just know that. It's also a really refreshing drink. If you're hot in the summertime, you can get a nice lemon lime Sprite to drink. With that, this is Cold Rain reminding you, if you didn't like the weather you saw today, there's a model out there somewhere that shows something better. It's your job to go find it. Take care. See ya.